Zach Cregger's horror mystery film Weapons is a movie that within a few months of release has gained widespread acclaim from numerous critics and moviegoers around the world. However, in spite of this, I've seen great confusion being expressed over several key plot elements within this film. In this analysis of the film, I would like to offer my perspective on these elements and how I interpreted them. Warning, this analysis will be completely spoiler-filled. If you have not watched the film, please go watch it. So I'll start off with my review of the film. I loved Weapons. A masterpiece in tension, suspense, and obtaining mystery, Weapons was also capable of achieving a feat that few movies can, taking challenging subject matter and presenting it in an accessible mainstream fashion. I'd give Weapons an A+. So yes, while I did love Weapons, I'll admit, there are several things in this film that left me very perplexed. But after reading articles, hearing other people's takeaways, and watching videos, and digging deeper in my own thought processes, I believe I've come to an understanding of what Zach Cregger was going for when he made this film. So let's start by looking at Alex Lilly, the one kid in Miss Gandy's class who doesn't go missing. This film establishes Alex as an outsider. He is highly subject to bullying, and lives with his nice but naive parents who agree to host Alex's sick aunt Gladys. Soon after Gladys arrives, Alex walks his way home from school only to find his parents sitting at the dinner table, barely functioning. I've seen many people being very critical of this choice, for it being contrary to the rules of Gladys's magical spells. Due to her spells, most people turn into these zombie-like flesh eaters, but in a brief line of dialogue, Gladys states that she can make Alex's parents do whatever she wants to them, and I think she chose to make them mostly frozen as a means of obtaining control over Alex. She probably thought that him seeing them half alive in his presence, he would probably obey. Aunt Gladys then tells Alex that she would like one item from each member of his class, and so he gives their tote tray labels to her. Now, her reason for possessing people, I believe that was done to heal her. For instance, we see a scene where Gladys deliberately cuts herself on a twig in Marcus, the school principal's office, and his partner Terry's hair lock around. Marcus then becomes hypnotized, and he bashes Terry's head. In a later scene, we are able to catch a glimpse of Gladys's head, and the cut has mostly healed. I believe that her choice of picking children links back to a couple of themes. 1. The children are young and healthy, the antithesis of Gladys, thus she viewed them as a piece of hope in her life. 2. She needed Alex's involvement in her plan, and given that Alex was a social outcast, he wouldn't fight back with his plan. And the third, the title, Weapons. A weapon is defined as any implement or device that is used to deter, threaten, inflict physical damage, harm, or kill. So by this definition, Gladys' act of possessing these children into weapons, as well as weaponizing others, is best characterized through the affected individuals of her actions. The townspeople have turned against Miss Gandy, the teacher of the class who has gone missing, weaponizing her as being the responsible adult for the children's disappearance. Miss Gandy herself falls victim to alcohol as a coping mechanism, as well as in her deluded state becoming the weapon in the relationship between Paul the policeman and his partner Donna, damaging their somewhat broken relationship. Now let's talk about what I found to be the most confusing little detail in this film. The time the kids will run out, 2:17. Now, I've seen a couple of explanations for why this movie chose this time. One being the obvious, 2 people in the classroom and 17 missing. Another is it's a reference to the Bible verse Matthew 2:17 in the New Testament, which reads, "Then what was said through the prophet Jeremiah was fulfilled," which is a reference to Jeremiah 31:15 that reads, "This is what the Lord says, a voice is heard in Ramah, mourning and great weeping, Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted, because they are no more." Both these verses are about a parent mourning the loss of a child, a theme highly prevalent amongst the grieving parents of the missing children, which is reflected through the character Archer. Archer hasn't been the best father to his son. He's largely been fairly absent and hasn't shown him the care that he's needed. And so Archer's son Matthew feels a bit neglected, and this disconnect between his father leads to him becoming a bully. And it's through Archer's mourning that he wants to make a difference. He wishes he could be there for his son, and that's why the scene where he finds his son at the end of the movie, his son lifeless, barely speaking, is just so devastating because he can't connect with him when he wants to. Weapons is such a fascinating film to unpack. It's an intricately plotted, layered film whose complexity will only get better over subsequent viewings. It's for this reason that I believe that in the future, Weapons will be talked about as one of the defining horror films of this decade.